I know this is a lot, and you've heard me all night, and then after this, I'm going to start singing. So maybe. I think I'm kidding. All right. All right. Everybody in the back room there? Some of my officers are not sitting down. Hey, guys, come on. One day you might be this and you want everybody to pay attention, so I think it's time to do respect. Okay. Every year, the Arcolian Dental Arts Society chooses a worthy Italian American who embodies the ideals of our society. All right, now for those attending an Arcolian event for the very first time, if you don't mind just a little bit of history, sit tight. Our organization began in the early 1930s by a group of dental students at Loyola, looking to form a society that would merge their hard-working values and pride in their Italian heritage. Named after Giovanni di Arcoli, a 15th century science professor at Bologna, who's credited with innovating a lot of dental materials, the Arcolian Dental Arts Society remains active by promoting excellence in the form of continuing education, awarding annual scholarships, and being a very supportive presence in the community for dental health. And really, that is how we chose our Arcolian of the Year. For as we strive for excellence and supportive presence in our community, so does this honored recipient. I'm finishing, and I would like to invite Dr. Dennis Petrini, who also was a chairman of Casa Italia in 2006, to speak personally of our Arcolian of the Year's behalf. Dr. Petrini.
Thank you. Dominic Candeloro has an impressive list of all the different things he's done as an author, editor, and all the things he's done as a historian. But what a lot of people don't know is his background is he's really done a lot of work behind the scenes for Italian Culture Center and Casa Italia. And Dominic, we can't thank you enough for what you're doing now for helping the Arcolians establish our history. So let's give a great round of applause for Dominic Candeloro.
Was Angelo going to speak on your behalf?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to invite Angelo to come up here. Oh, there he is, I don't know. Okay, thank you.
First, we have to have some help. Good evening. It's a pleasure on my part to be here tonight to speak on behalf of a friend, a fellow native of Chicago Heights, and one who we all know has given almost a lifetime of the cause of the Italian American history in the United States. I tried to find out today, and I'm not good at the internet, on the name of your society. Thank you for educating me. I thought it was from the Greek Hercules, the strength to take a tooth. But now I know it's the dentist that we're named after. So, as we go on, Dr. Candeloro is a fellow native of the city of Chicago Heights. As you know, Chicago Heights is that way, near the Indiana border, quite a distance. Dominic was born in Chicago Heights, raised in Chicago Heights, educated in the elementary schools, Garfield and Washington, graduated from Bloom Township High School, and he continued his education by attending Northwestern University, receiving a BA in history. He went on to the University of Illinois for a Master's of Arts in history. He went on to get a PhD from the U of I in history. When we look at Dominic's background, He was in charge of the Italian in Chicago project at UIC and worked hard and came up with the first publication, which is a gem. He then became a professor of history at Governor State University and also was the continuing education coordinator at Governor State. Dominic, again, was part of my staff when I was mayor of the city of Chicago Heights. He was my administrative assistant. Dominic had great ideas. He instituted the Chicago Heights Historical Society, the Beautification Committee, the Community Relations Committee, and even we started a cable TV station. Dominic always had the interest of the Italian-American history, and it's amazing how many people today that have a history of Italian blood that don't know about the contributions of the Italians in America. Wherever you go in the highly populated areas, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, Toronto, go to Colorado, New York, California, New Orleans. There's a vast history of our forefathers who worked, who gave themselves and tried very hard to educate their children. So the first generation of Italian Americans had a difficult time. First to go to school, as one gentleman said, he was the first of his family to go to college. But the second, third, and coming to the fourth generation, there are a lot of young people who don't know the contributions that our forefathers made in this great country of ours. Dominic always had this passion of keeping the history alive. And with all of his publications, the Italians in Chicago, Chicago Heights Revisited, Italians in Chicago, 1945 to 2005, there was always the desire to let the people know that the Italians have a fair, honest part in the greatness of our country. When we decided to go into politics, Dominic and I, a few years back, we were the minority party, so we had a lot of skirmishes. And some we didn't win. But we never gave up the quest to give good Italian-American government. And I'm proud to say that Dominic gave to my administration that sense of honesty, integrity, and drive. So when you honor a man of the year, you look for the person who brings forth the standard. That your society doing a great job giving the cash awards to Casa Italia. If it wasn't for the Scalabrinian fathers keeping the seminary, so the cultural center can be where it's at. We thank the volunteers, Dominic, Josette, Father Feccia, who worked hard. So again, a privilege on my part to introduce my fellow Chicago Heights native, Dr. Dominic Candeloro.
I'd like to set the record straight. I didn't do it. Thank you, Sam. Our experience in Chicago Heights was one of the highlights of my life. And one of our motivating factors in Chicago Heights, and I'm telling tales out of school here, is that Chicago Heights had some pretty corrupt politicians running it at one time. And they happened to have vowels at the end of their names. And one of our motivations for getting involved in Chicago Heights politics was to show the other 99%, we were the 99% in that case, of what Italian Americans could do. And that motivated us and I know Sam and myself at that time. You're all here tonight. We've been here quite a while. I'll be as brief as I can. First of all, I want to thank the volunteers in the library. Jeanette Rizzati Veman has been there for the last 3 years as a total volunteer, working very hard, and she has logged in almost all of the 6,000 items that we have in the library, and it's all online, so you could get that. And Jacques Nunez, there's Jacques taking the pictures there. Jacques has really gotten involved in the last year, and there are other volunteers who aren't here tonight. And without them, what I do would be, they magnify tremendously what I've been able to do at the Casa Italia. So I want to thank them first. Then I want to go back to my sister Angie, who taught me how to write my name. So without that, I would have been nowhere. And I think she taught me to dance. My wife Carol, she's read everything I've written, and if she looks bored today, then that's the reason for it. She's read everything that I've ever written. Poor lady. But she's been there, very patient for the last 40-some years. Josette, who is a ball of fire, especially in the summertime when the summer camp comes for kids. My 5 grandchildren have gone for the last couple of years, and they love it, and they can sing the Italian national anthem. We put them on Skype, and we called to Italy, and we sang them the national anthem. And so we really impressed them, and this is the baby of Josette. This is Josette's baby, the camp for kids. She works 18 hours a day during the 3 or 4 weeks that we have this, and she's inspired. She's put all of her time and a lot of money into it, and it is something that we're all very proud of, and it's the basic thing. And looking over next to Josette is Vito D'Ambrosio. Vito is the president of the Italian American Executives of Transportation. And it's that group that in the 1970s decided that they wanted to have Italian American studies taught at the University of Illinois. I was hired for that job on a big fluke, and I won't bother you with the whole story, but my whole life would have been different. My whole the lives of my children would have been completely different. We would have been Texans if the Italian American Executives of Transportation hadn't come. They were, I think, giving $20,000 a year to subsidize a teacher then, and we parlayed that into a $300,000 National Endowment for the Humanities grant, in which we were able to do the Italians in Chicago project. And that's an example of what a dynamic club like the Italian American Executives and like the Arcolians can do, and the difference that they can make. And since then I've been slaving on the one hand, but you know, if you're doing something you really like and it is satisfying to you, it's not slavery at all. So I like to pretend that it's really hard work, but for me, it's just a lot of fun. The Italian American Executives of Transportation continues to do a fantastic job, and the library, the Casa Italia, we look to them for continued support. What we need to do, and is to get the whole Italian community together and the general community together to save Italian American culture. We're in danger of losing it. You look at the chronology. The immigrants came here from the 1880s up till 1914, big wave. Then in the 1920s, many people came. Then after World War II, many people came. But a lot of our roots go way far back, and we don't know our origins. We don't know about the little Italies that existed all over Chicago. There were a dozen of them. We don't know where we came from. And, you know, there are more important things in the world. There's global warming, there's terrorism, there's sports, until last week, Bears football. There's everything that seems so much more important and more immediate. We have our careers, we have our children, we have all these other things to think about. And we all we'll give lip service to the fact, oh, we should always remember our forefathers. They worked so hard and they sacrificed for us, and well, most people can't go into much more detail than that. They don't really know in depth that little slice of history that produced them. And my mission is to preserve that slice of history and to, as we say, to gather together every scrap of evidence that Italians existed in Chicago, and to scan it into computer files, and to preserve it, to put it in between the covers of books. A little advertisement, we brought out a book in October. It's called Reconstructing Italians in Chicago. It's available on at the Casa Italia, and it's available on Amazon.com. That book brings together 30 writings, 30 writers, the best writers about the history of and the culture of Italians in Chicago. And this book has almost paid for itself. And I'm going to take the money that we make and go to, well, I'm not going to go to Taormina, but I'm going to take it and plow it into another book about Italian American women. And once that's a bestseller, we're going to take that money and plow it into another book about Roseland, or about the Arcolians, or about the Italian American Executives of Transportation, or about baking bread. We're going to capture this stuff between the covers of books and and on video. There are two great videos that on the history of Italians in Chicago. One is "And They Came to Chicago" by Gia Amella, and the other is 5,000 Miles from Home, about the Italian Americans from Chicago in World War II. That was produced by Tony Fornelli. What I want to do is invite you all to unite with the Casa Italia, with the work that we're doing, to preserve this slice of history that may not be important to other people, but it's important to us. It's got to be important to us because it's our story. And if you don't have a story, who are you? So I've been doing this for a long time. Sometimes I get into ridiculous situations. The most ridiculous one is at a Festa Italiana once, when I was trying to sell a book of poetry by Joseph Tusiani. Tusiani had the line, 2 languages, 2 lands, perhaps 2 souls. Am I a man or 2 strange halves of one? This was a piece of poetry about the quandary of being an immigrant, of being bicultural. And then there's another line from Tusiani, this country needs you, but this you must not know. And this is the American industrial complex speaking to the immigrants. We really need you, but we're not going to respect you or pay you. We have to keep that from you. We need you to develop. Anyhow, I was trying to sell this sublime poetry to a person who at Festa Italiana was a little bit drunk and had these kind of twinkle things on his head. And I said, you really should be interested in this poetry. And then I caught myself and said, Dominic, what the hell are you doing? This guy doesn't have any interest in this. But, you know, I'm going to keep doing it. Anyway, even if they got twinkly antlers on their heads, I'm going to try to convince them that knowing their culture, knowing Italian-American culture, and this is true for any ethnic group, knowing your roots, knowing your past is important. It's significant, even if you have those things on your head. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Dominic. Thank you, everyone, for staying so late. We appreciate it.